We start with the issues that happened at driver's license offices across the state earlier this week.
Yeah, technical snafus there. Joining us now, Public Safety Commissioner Sean Tyndall, and the offices open again by the end of the week. Still, things were moving slowly. And where are we at right now heading into the next week? There was a software update that was supposed to happen. So kind of update us first on that.
So about 2 weeks ago, our vendor said we had to have a software update, and it's something we've been planning for. And so they moved forward with the update. Unfortunately, when they did, it started overloading the servers. And if anybody's had a home computer or your iPhone or your Android phone, when it gets filled with data, it starts moving really slow. And that's essentially what happened, to the point that we were moving at a snail's pace when it came to processing transactions, sometimes an hour up to 2 hours for a single transaction. So in light of that, we did shut down our offices for a couple of days last week. We reopened this week hoping we had found some fixes. Turns out we did not. And there were still some delays and things that needed to be worked through. And so it did create some long delays and lines at our driver service stations. But we tried to reach out to the public, let them know to be patient, try to be understanding. This was the first time really in 4 years that we've seen this kind of issue. Because we've gotten those average wait times down from 3 hours to 15 minutes. And the men and women that work at our Driver Service Bureau have just done an excellent job turning that around. And this was one of those things that was not their fault. It was an issue with the vendor, and we're proud to be back. Running about 85–90% right now.
Okay, and you feel like the wait times are in pretty good shape right now, or there's more improvement needed?
There's a little more improvement needed. Anytime we shut down for even a day or two, all those people have to be reserviced on another day, so it creates a little bit of a backlog that we have to work ourselves through. But from an operational standpoint, we're moving good, and I would anticipate over the next week or two we'll be back up running at regular wait times, and folks will be back in and out at 15 minutes.
Do you feel like this could be an impetus for down the road, maybe bringing in a different type of tech to do that? Because what you talked about with when I've gone to get my license, the workers there are the most patient people in the world, because you got all kinds of situations in there with people getting their license or renewals, and they may have missed a step. So between that and maybe getting them a little more tech, is that something down the road?
Absolutely. I mean, and you're right. The folks there have done a great job, not only with the services they provide as far as getting folks in and out on the technical side, but the customer service aspect. But I will say, in this year's legislative budget, we've requested money. We've been with this vendor now for about 10 years. We're going to put it out for bid for possibly a new vendor to come in, or maybe them. But we're going to do a debriefing on this to make sure that it never happens again. And one of the things that we've made a big emphasis for at DPS and our Driver Services Bureau is trying to make sure we're expanding our digital footprint, so that most of the things that you want to do, you can do online or you can mail it in. And trying to make sure that people know they don't have to come into the driver service station just to get a renewal. You can get a driver's license, an 8-year license, and get it renewed, so you only have to come in there really once every 16 years.
Yeah, and that's what people are looking for, to do it on their computer or phone. It's convenience for everybody. Now at the legislature, the session continuing, you're pushing for a cyber defense software program to be implemented. Give us an update on what that is and why it's needed.
Cybersecurity has been a big push by the Lieutenant Governor and Governor, and you see it from across the state. School districts, municipalities will get hacked, sensitive information will be vulnerable, and these folks want to hold them for ransom. And so we're trying to prepare a network of cyber defense across our state that will encompass all the school districts and encompass all our public assets, so that we can protect not only those private entities, but also have a mechanism to protect the public and their information from getting out. So it's an expensive software program, but when you're trying to do it statewide and cover 2 million people in various entities, it requires a special skill set and a special program to get it done.
And you feel like it's going to pass?
We feel like there's a good opportunity for it. You know, when they're slicing that budget up, it's one big pie, and it's only so many ways you can split it. So hopefully they find it in the budget and we can get it done.
Also, Sean, this week, busy obviously with the Driver Service Bureau, but also your department working with the folks up in Cleveland on a pretty big arrest with a couple of suspects that were involved in some ATM burglaries. And that seemed like that was big, not only to catch them, but also that interagency working. That always comes in handy, not only for that current situation, but also down the road.
Absolutely, and I'm tremendously proud of our colonels, Colonel Keith Davis, over our law enforcement division, and Colonel Charles Haynes of the Mississippi Highway Patrol, because both of them have been great advocates in pushing and promoting our working relationship with local law enforcement partners as well as federal law enforcement partners. And we've done this all over the state. We've had these enforcement efforts down here on the coast where we've come together with other folks. We've been doing it in Jackson with Operation Unified, and we're carrying it up to the Delta now, trying to do that. And we're on the phone with the FBI, we're on the phone with Cleveland PD, we're on the phone with the Clark County Sheriff's Office, trying to forge those relationships and make sure we're working together to put those bad guys away.
Yeah, a lot of cooperation going into it, and I don't want to let you leave without mentioning the Hinds County Sheriff's deputy who was tragically killed this week in another officer-involved shooting. And this is just, it brings it to the forefront of it's happening so much. And just real quickly, anything that you feel like you want to say about it?
It's just so tragic and so unnecessary. And in that particular situation, again, responding to a domestic, and we see that a lot. And this officer was ambushed by somebody that had just a evil heart and was willing to hurt others, and particularly a law enforcement officer that was just showing up there to help. And we've got to do a better job, I think, in how we address those domestic calls. We got to do a better job with training to make sure we're protecting our officers and getting them the tools they need to be safe.
Okay, Sean Tyndall, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank y'all.